The question I get asked most often, people ask me, how did I last for 15 years after the tragedy? And needless to say, there was a lot of survivor's guilt. And it was 2 days after the tragedy, which would have been April 21st, 1999. I'm a cradle Catholic, and Father Ken Leone called me down to the parish church, St. Francis Cabrini, on a Thursday evening. He said, "Frank, you need to come down here." I said, "Father, I'm so busy." He said, "Frank, you need to come down here."
Yeah.
And so I went down to St. Francis Cabrini, and it was at that point there were about 1,200 people in the church. And within that crowd was about 500 students that were part of the Columbine community.
Oh, no kidding.
And it was interesting. Father Ken called me down, and he had them extend their hands over me and ask for the Holy Spirit to come down and give me strength. And something that rings in my head on a daily basis after he did that is he said, "Frank, you should have died that day, but God spared your life. Now you need to go and rebuild that community." He said that to me. And so here I am 2 days after the tragedy, seeing the worst that could possibly happen to a community, and he's charging me to go rebuild that community. But the thing that helped, in addition to stating that now you need to go rebuild the community, he said, "You're not going to work that journey alone." And he stated that God will be there every step of the way. And then he gave me this home, and many people have seen it, about footprints.
Sure.
People, he said, "Frank, throughout your life, there was a story where a guy's life ends, and all of a sudden he meets with Jesus, and he said, 'Jesus, how come during the good times in my life there was always 4 footprints in the sand, but during the most troubling times I saw that you deserted me or left me, and there was only 2 footprints?' And he said, 'My son, I did not. I picked you up and carried you.'" And it was so important for that message to be there. And something that brings out in my mind as being a cradle Catholic, I thought of the Bible verse that we live our lives through faith and not by sight. And so many times I feel that within our lives, when things are going well, they're thanking God. But what true faith is when you face tragedies or devastations in our life. And if I got to believe in God during the good times, I also have to believe that He's going to be there with me during the most difficult times. And so my faith is important, and that helped greatly with the healing process. And people asked why I stayed for 15 years beyond is because of those words or that sentence that Father Ken told me, "You have to rebuild the community." And I felt that it took me 15 years to do that because every kid that was in an elementary school on that horrific evening had walked through Columbine and graduated, and I felt it was then time for me to retire.